Hello everyone, my name is Kanaya Woods. This is my recorded annotated bibliography of two articles that address group practices. The first article I'm going to cover is titled Group Social Intervention by Social Workers, Challenges and Issues. This article is based on the training and needs of social workers doing group work in northern Quebec, Canada. So the results of this article show that group work in a university setting. The results show that group work, in a university setting work well with training that is incorporated with practical work. So, in other words, actually, practicing group like we do in SW 635, social works with groups, meaning like the trainings allow you to get together and host a group. It compared group interventions in rural areas and versus urban areas, and just highlighted the different issues of like transportation access and all those kinds of things. And it mentioned that social workers in these areas must adapt their practice and interventions to their populations within these specific regions so that their groups can continue to thrive and be successful. So the overarching concern was that there is a lack of group intervention education across American universities. So this article was a qualitative research method that wanted to put forth the test of teaching already experienced social workers or social workers who already graduated the method of group intervention and seeing how it would work and if they would benefit from this research. The sample size was very small though. There were only 10 participants, which is not a good representation of the social work professional population. As we all know, qualitative research can be more vulnerable to bias. So back to the sample sizes, the ages range from 22 to 53. The recruitment was via email. For some that works well, for others not so much that are not so tech savvy. And the interviews were held via Zoom for 60 minutes long. So again, Zoom is very convenient, especially that this article was published around 2022. So in that time, we were very deeply embedded in COVID. So that, as you can imagine, that worked well. 60 minutes is a fairly decent time, not too extensive, but also not too short as well. So the interviews were recorded and transcribed. So when researchers went back to like analyze and go over the data from the interviews, they were able to depict the data from the wording of the participants verbatim, which is very beneficial. There was no like paraphrasing. It was straight from the source. 9 participants completed their bachelor out of the 10 completed their bachelor's degree in social work at UQAT Canada, a well-known university in Canada that I'm not really too sure how to pronounce, so I didn't want to butcher that. So again, the sample size kind of biased because the sample population came from this one university primarily. Within the research, it did allow room in like inserts of reviews and feedbacks from different participants, and all of the feedback was very positive. People were saying like, oh, since this training and becoming more informed, I feel better equipped to host a group. I feel more confident. So how could this article be helpful to me now and in the future? It's very beneficial, especially now while being enrolled in a group course, because it emphasizes the importance of group teachings. While I have the experience of being educated in groups within other courses, this one is very direct and head on. And I can use this information as we sit through the next few short weeks and go through our groups and really be attentive and try to take away the knowledge that's being presented and read the articles and process the information. So again, covering groups in all areas. It can also be beneficial to like hosting groups in field. Like I said, learning this information coupled with being in this course can help me better develop a plan and a method for hosting groups in field, and being prepared and understanding that group teaching may not be something. So again, like I mentioned, it's not well known across many universities according to the research. So just going out into the world after graduation and realizing that everyone may not be educated or familiar with group interventions or comfortable, I can take the lead initially and be patient with my fellow social work colleagues, teach them and help them understand, being supportive in these areas so that the groups can essentially thrive with myself and outside of myself, and then I can have support. So moving right along to Article 2. Group art therapy is a tool for increasing professional competencies. I particularly liked this article. It was very different. It focused more on a professionals versus a population group. There is a population group, but it focused primarily on the social work professionals. So the article aimed at introducing group art therapy as a form of improving professional competencies of social workers, as well as a means of verification of the effectiveness the group art therapy program on the improvement of professional competencies. The importance of social work competencies are on a decline, according to the article in this research, and I can see it in my personal workplace, also where I did my first year of field placement. It was a quantitative method, which was time consuming. It consisted of a very lengthy survey with many different sections to give participants the opportunity to answer questions that went along with all the different competencies. So time consuming. There was some rigidity with the sample size to say that it didn't specify too much, but it did say that the sample size was deliberately picked. I'm not 100% sure what that means, but to me it seems handpicked. So there's a limited scope. So within quantitative methods, there's like a emotion and experience in comparison to qualitative, where you have people share feedback of their experience of things. This was not this. And within this article, this was strictly like facts and numbers. And then misinterpretation. So like hard numbers can lack like texture, and incorrectly like represent the solution. So because there were so many positives of the research, there's no additional information to solidify or verify the positivity of it. Essentially, it could have been successful or had such a positive result simply because every social worker chosen liked art. So again, there's not a lot of information to really depict that area of it. Again, like I said, the questionnaire had multi-sections. There were 128 social workers, 126 females, 22 males. Again, like I said, the respondents were picked deliberately, and the group art therapy sessions took place via Zoom. Very convenient, especially during times of COVID, after COVID, and could have potentially been beneficial before COVID. So this is helpful to know while participating in a group's course currently, because Being in a graduate level course for groups, we are professionals in the making. So this is getting us prepared to work on our competencies now and be informed of a method that will work in the future when we're out in the professional world. We can revert back to methods like such to get everyone to increase their level of competency so that people can thrive in the social work world. This approach or something very similar I can see it being implemented at my current workspace, where the competencies can be low or the level of understanding of competencies across professionals is not uniform. This can allow for social workers to stay on top of all competencies. I believe that this approach can also bring together interdisciplinary teams, like in medical social work, where you may have a doctor, a social worker, physical therapist, occupational therapist, dietitian, nutritionist, nurse, and all of those people. So I feel like interventions like this can bring the team together, especially during times of divide and lack of understanding and support of one another. And finally, I believe that this intervention could potentially increase workplace morale. As we all know, groups are a place where a safe space is established. So when you work closely with people and you are allowed to be your true self in a safe space, it can allow coworkers within a workspace to work together better in the future. Thank you for watching. That's all.